being a woman, and well, almost as strong as Wendy is, when this happens to you, such as myself, boy, when it came to the bedroom, I felt very timid,
Hmm.
I felt kicked to the curb, kind of like, oh, you're not going to want me anymore. What kind of, other than saying support, but what kind of words, advice would you give to
This is a
the
great.
significant other? Just because, I mean, you may go from, oh, let's be intimate, we have all the lights on and run around and everything else, to, okay, keep the lights off, don't touch me, anywhere around my chest. And then you just find yourself pulling away and like, oh, I feel dirty. You're not going to want me anymore. I'm washed up.
So I think it actually starts before the bedroom. So this is the example I give. Now, in our relationship, we've been together for a while. In the beginning of our relationship, Terry wanted to hear me say, "I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you." And
Mhm.
then later in the relationship, she wanted to hear that, but really what she wanted was for me to clear the dishes and take out the trash. And that's how I expressed that I loved her. And she expressed to me that she loved me by, these little things we do around the house. And then all of a sudden, cancer hits and you can't do those little things anymore.
Right.
We need to go back to how we were kind of early and
Mhm.
express our affection for one another. And not only that we love them, but also that we still kind of think they're hot, and that we're, attracted and engaged. And that comes with some space.
Mhm.
There's also a hypersensitivity that happens around here, like, after the surgeries, for example, or going through the experience, or losing your hair, or all the myriad of assaults to our physical self. There's a vigilance that I think a lot of women feel, and they kind of sometimes interpret ambiguous stimuli in the most negative way possible.
Mhm.
So that means you got to talk about things like, oh, I saw you caught a look at me when I was coming out of the shower, and I saw you recoil. Well, no, actually, that's not what happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's these
Yeah.
little conversations we had to have.
Yeah. No, no, it just because it's so true. I mean, and going back to, I keep referencing Wendy, Todd, because I know you guys are living this right now, but she's absolutely beautiful. And not only is she beautiful, I mean, she takes such good care of herself. I mean, these arms on this woman, oh my gosh, Dr. Shapiro, you got to see it. I mean, she is amazing. And she's gorgeous inside and out. And then again, when something physically, it's like, sure, their breasts, they're just hey, if they're going to save your life, get them out of there. But it's like, to go from being beautiful on the inside and out, and then all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you see what you're left with. It can be quite intimidating.
Right, and there's also, you can go screechingly into menopause. A lot of the breast cancers are certainly hormonally mediated, so that's another thing that adds to all of this tension. There's no question it's difficult, but the vast majority of couples I talk to, their sexuality returned in a major way.
No,
And
that's good
it's
to
a
know. Todd, do you have
part of,
anything to add there?
yeah, I got so much to add here. I mean,
Good.
it's part of my commitment to my wife, right? It's part of that through richer, through poor, through sickness and through health, to let her know that I'm always going to be there and I'm going to embrace her however she is. And that's part of my responsibility and the role that I play. And it's not, yes, my wife has a takes very good care of her body and her mind and her spirit. And if the body changes, I'm still really attracted to her. And I still love what's going on with her. And I need to share and express that love with her. And it's something that we have that's intimate and personal. And I need to nurture it with her like we always have, but now it's just a little bit different. And quite honestly, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for us. But we're also, I don't know, we're a different kind of a couple. I think we're going to cope just fine. But
Hmm.
it is something that we've already talked about, and I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a big deal for me.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jay Harness, and I want to share with you important information that I believe that every newly diagnosed patient with breast cancer needs to know.
I'm a breast cancer survivor. I am a breast cancer survivor.
I am a breast cancer survivor.
And I want every woman to know
About personalized breast cancer treatment
and the genomic test.
A test that helps guide a woman and her doctor
to the best treatment options for her.
Pass it on.